Hello, everybody. This is Stefania Montalti from CEPI. And first of all, I want to thank everyone for choosing to listen to this speech, which will be centered on the topic of circularity, so the circular economy and its products, and the way it intersects with bulk handling. So I'm presenting in my role of the communications manager in CEPI and the sustainability strategy coordinator. Just a little introduction about what CEPI does. CEPI is a company that an Italian company that since 1985 has been designing, producing and commissioning bulk handling systems for the food industry, so confectionery as well. We work with all sectors, and even though we are based in Italy, we work globally. You will see as I present the way bulk handling and circularity have many overlaps. I will get into the method. This is a little recap of the topics I will expand on today. So first of all, we will, of course, describe what the circular economy is, break it down to its basic principles and steps, and talk about its products. I will go into the tools that have been developed to measure, for example, circularity of a product, because we did apply one of these methods to our installation, and I will illustrate the result we got. And then, talking about this result, I will describe what we think is the main reason why we got a good result, which is a design method that has been applied for decades in CEPI, much earlier, before we started even knowing what circularity is. I will get just quickly in closing into topics of durability, revamping, which are fundamental traits of our installations, which also are fundamental traits of products that are fit for the circular economy, and close with a few more notes on notions of modularity and versatility and adaptability. So let's get into it. What is the circular economy? This is a basic definition. The circular economy is a model of production and consumption. It aims to reduce waste to a minimum and to promote recycling and reuse of raw materials and products. Its ultimate goal is to reduce the consumption of primary resources. I shared here a few activities that are very encouraged under the circular economy. And they are sharing, leasing, reusing, repairing, refurbishing. As you notice, it's all activities that are aimed towards a singular end, which is to prolong the life cycle of products as much as possible. Circular economy is a model that has been establishing itself in the past years very rapidly as a reference point for those who wish to promote sustainable development, and it has been in its totality or in part also adopted by governments all over the world. For example, it has been used by the European Union, US, Japan, China. And let's break it down a little so I can maybe convey a little better what exactly it is and what it wants to do. First of all, I will say that these are generally recognized as its basic principles, and they are based in design. I'll try to explain why. So first of all, we want to eliminate all waste or pollution. Why is this? In the economy that we are in right now, which is called a linear economy, we usually work this way by taking materials from the earth, making a product, and once the product has been used, we dispose of it as waste. So what we recognize if we operate within a perspective that we need to move to a circular economy is that this system is not sustainable. We have not endless resources on the planet. What does this mean in terms of design? Of course, it means designing. I will go a little more into this later, but designing by using as little virgin material as possible. You want still, the second principle is that you want to circulate products and materials as much as possible, keep them in use. And this is also something that is done through design. And it's done through design by designing something that can last, usage, and it can be promoting more than one usages, shared, and so on. It can be repaired easily, for example. the ultimate objective is the one is to regenerate nature. So we shift from a model where we extract from nature to a model where we help nature regenerating. This is also interesting because another important way of thinking that is shared generally by those who believe in the circular economy is that if we shift toward this way of doing things, we start to imitate nature and to behave more how elements in an ecosystem behave, because in nature there is no waste. Everything goes back to the next process. Once we have talked about, we have established this as our principle, if we want to change our own processes into processes that are more fitting and we want to implement a circular economy, this is what we can do. We can use renewable resources, we can focus on their origins, and we can also focus on the way these resources will be able to be used at the end of our process. We need to design products so that their duration is increased, that they're easy to reuse, that they're easy to break down into components that can be used. They can be used to create even more products in the next cycle. And ultimately, we want to stop, producing waste. So that is something that is applied to the design for the end of life for both the product and the packaging. This is a diagram that I wanted to share with you because it's very, very complete. It's very technical, so I won't talk about go into all its many details. It's called the butterfly diagram. It's been developed by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which is one of the most authoritative foundations internationally, one of the most authoritative organization in terms of the circular economy. Their goal is to favor the passage to a circular model of production and consumption. Very briefly, I will say that this starts from materials and considers their production, their manufacture, splitting it in various stages, and then it arrives to users and consumers. In the right part, we talk about the finite materials, so it's called the technical cycle, and all the activities that are promoted to, make it so that waste is not produced. It's called leakage here. So we don't go here, past collection, but we reintroduce some way both the product and its parts and finally its materials in the next manufacturing cycle. This side is called the biological cycle, and it includes all the various actions that can be taken on biological components. Same goal, to gather as many new nutrients, for example, from them as possible. I'm going to get to the conclusion for this. So the definition of a circular product, I think it is quite intuitive. If I explain myself before in terms of describing a circular economy, what is a circular product? It is a product that fits the circular economy. So this product will have little or no need for virgin resources, and it is designed with the end of its life in mind. Because this product re-enters the economy once it's been used, and it is a product that is designed so keeping in mind the various stages that I showed in the diagram at in the last slide that I was on before. So think about recycling, start from resources, and then move on to manufacturing, think about the use, and go on to what happens then. How do you recycle? What happens when the use is complete. In order to establish how circular a product is, there are various tools. The tool I will talk about today is called the Material Circularity Indicator, and it's been developed by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which I described before. This is an indicator that measures products on a scale between 0 and 1, where 0 is a product that's not circular at all, and 1 is a fully circular, completely circular product. The analysis is made with a very technical study of the origin of materials, so you extract information about the origin of the materials used in the product. So you look at what fractions come from recycling, what from reuse, and what fractions are biological. Then you think about the product itself and its use. So you gather information about its durability, the average durability in the sector, utility, intensity of use. And finally, you look at what happens at the end of the life of this product. So what part is recyclable, what part can be reused, all the operations that I described before. So we did this study on CEPI with an engineering agency that applied the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and I'm sharing the result with you, which is 0.7. It is considered high. And as you can see in this table here in the top right, what we did was we were the first in Italy to do this, not a study. We did decide not to study a singular technology machine, but we wanted to study sample installation for reasons that I will get into before, but we do consider the system in its totality as our product, not just, a silo or a dosing point, and so on. So here is briefly the information we extracted, the materials that are involved in the production of our installation, their origins, and then information about what happens at the end of the life of our product and how it is used, so durability and use intensity. So there are a few things that I would like to go into. First of all, the two results that made us the most happy. It was, I'll just make a little premise. The reason why we focused on this indicator is that we had intuition as soon as we started talking about circularity that we were going to have a good result. And this intuition came from policies that we have always applied. And one of them was, of course, one that is about the method. I will get into it more in detail later. And another one is the fact that we know that we use very recyclable materials. So the recycling efficiency is 84% and the durability is 30 years if the user doesn't decide to intervene before. And we were expecting actually, in general, even to go even higher than this. What happens is that this is a very special, very, very particular period in history. And there are certain industry-wide factors that have impacted, in particular, the way we procure steel. And we were able to procure less recycled steel than usual this year in particular. So what we imagine is that as soon as the procurement of materials will go back to normal, this number will go higher. We also have made it as our strategic goal for the future. And so let's focus on a little what we think caused this result. I think the most impacting factor was the method we apply in bulk handling. And this is a method that when I dissected it early on, before I said, I've been doing communication for more than a decade and I've been talking about this method. And what was very interesting for me when I started getting to know circularity and doing my own research was the familiarity of a lot of language and words and concepts that the thinkers in the text of circular economy were giving me. I could recognize that we were talking about the same thing, so the same concepts that were already present in this method. This is a method for designing that is mostly focused on creating turnkey installations. So what does that mean? That when you do bulk handling, you want to, of course, manage all these storing and transport and dosing operations, but you can do it in different ways. Our way is aimed at making the user independent and to provide a very high level of customization. So this means we provide solutions that meet their specific needs. How do we do this? We always keep in mind that we need to have an organic way of thinking and a long-term view. The organic way of thinking is not only about the installations we create. So you consider that storing, transport, and dosing operations cannot be looked at just independently from each other, are not isolated. They have to be observed and designed with their totality in mind. But we also apply this process to the user, our customers. We don't just gather information that's technical, not just about current production, but we go into marketing, into purchasing, into branding. Our goal is to have a long-term view. So it's to create solutions that are flexible and do not preclude any choices that they might want to make in the future in terms of new production lines or changing something. So what happens? What happens this way? This way, what we achieve is installation that is very open to future expansions and changes, and that is how these two characteristics of our installations emerge, which are durability and the ability to be very easily revamped. I go to the bottom of this slide first, which maybe will make it easier to understand what I say later. So we start from the design method. We keep in mind expansions and modification. We design with an approach that makes the technologies themselves, the machinery, flexible and modular. In this way, we achieve a very strong ability as a company to revamp our installations and to keep them in circulation. What was asked, what the circular economy asks of us. So activities that are those that I mentioned before. Remember, reusing, repairing, refurbishing. All these activities represent one of our main strengths, and in this way we achieve the durability of the installation, which is what we think is the main reason why our indicator was high. This durability is the reason why the installation and therefore the process of who uses this installation is both environmentally and economically sustainable. Why I mentioned this? I mentioned this because the reason why I choose to talk about circularity is that what I wanted to convey, because when we decided to make a little more official our sustainability processes and to certify our processes, and we became familiar with circularity, what was made very obvious to me is that sustainability, which is environmental and economic, are not separated. They go hand in hand. And that was one of the goals in sharing my insights today, is to convey to you that they shouldn't be taught as a separate parts, but they are parts that once applied go together. They make your process sustainable both economically and environmentally. And when it comes to circularity, that is where my presentation ends today. So what I would like to close with is a few suggestions. First of all, after thanking you all for listening, I would like to tell you that if you're interested in learning more, please get in touch either with me or you can explore this page where all of our actions towards sustainable development are described, environmental, social, and economic. And in case this made you curious to get a quote or start preparing a project with us, so develop your own bulk ending process with us, also please don't hesitate to contact us because we are always very excited to meet new challenges.
Stefania, thank you so much for joining us here today at Bakery Live and for delivering such an insightful presentation. Emulating nature in the production process is certainly a fascinating topic. Could you tell us why you wanted to talk about this topic in particular?
Yeah, there are two answers. One is a bit more personal. The other one, I think, from the perspective of us as CEPI, as manufacturers. So, for me, I'm honestly passionate about the topic. So I thought if I'm going to speak about something that I'm invested into, I'm probably going to be better at conveying it, what it is, how it works, and why it is important, because I do believe it's very important. It has to do with the fact that circularity, I think, is a very good intro, to the general topic of sustainability. It is a good intro in the sense that it's very clear in making you understand what is the impact it has, what it does demand, and what is going to happen if you adopt this model. So even if this word, we hear it a lot, we almost start to associate almost no meaning to it. I think for some people it's working like that. I think this is a good reminder that there is a meaning. And from the point of view of CEPI, instead, as manufacturers, I think what we wanted to share in particular was, the process was very illuminating, because from the beginning, when we started to learn about what circularity is in a product, and then going through the assessment, going very technical on the details, on the materials, on the manufacturing processes, and evaluating them, what was really hit us at all stages was how familiar, so many key concepts of the circular economy were to our own process. It was already present. So many things were already present in our process. And I think what is, it was a good confirmation for us that we were making the right decisions. But mostly I think it's confirmation, and that's what's interesting to share. It's confirmation that you can integrate an economic and an environmental approach. You can, and in my opinion, we should try to make them go hand in hand.
Are there many overlaps between your method and circular economy approaches?
Yes, many actually. I couldn't fit everything into the presentation, but because I said before, I'm passionate about this. I went and did my own further research compared to what we were learning in CEPI. And I think it was Walter Stahel, that is a Swiss architect, and he's written some seminal books about this. And he says, the circular economy is a framework. It isn't just a model, because it is something that is attempting to includes so many parts of our life, like almost every aspect of human development. So it's not just engineering, it's not just manufacturing, but you get into the psychology of the customers, the sociology of people. And so when I was researching all these topics, I was met with so many ideas that are considered principles that were very familiar to me. Like, for example, under the circular economy, you should try to build resilience through diversity. And this is an author, an American science author, Janine Benyus, and she introduced the concept of biomimicry. And what that means is try to solve human problems with solutions inspired by nature. And that is a solution inspired by nature. And she talked about introducing modularity and adaptability and versatility into design. And those exact words were words that I used so many times in my role as communications manager to describe our machinery. So, wow, that's very familiar, right? And then, I don't know, we talk about the fact that it's encouraged to think in terms of systems. It's called systems thinking, and that brings us to consider the concept of ecosystem. So you consider your own company an ecosystem, your own, product an ecosystem. I use the word organic a lot during this presentation, and saying systematic and saying organic is almost the same thing, isn't it? So, I could use it another time. I remember 10 years ago, I think, I was doing an interview about our production, and our product specifically. I was asked, so which one you consider, the top product? And I said, look, all of our products are very important. I could list a few, but the actual product that we push, that we emphasize the most is the system. So that's another way in which I was reminded immediately of our own perspective. And I don't know, other things, for example, you're encouraged to think local. Think local. What does it mean? Same concept again. Think about yourself in your community as an ecosystem. So an ecosystem looks at resources that are at hand. It uses the resources at hand, and that's how the way it develops. And so should a sustainable business should do the same. Look at your environment, look at the resources, maybe the ones that are underused. And I mean, it's part of our own way of working since its inception. For example, we mainly use local suppliers, and we have built a very good relationship with many schools and universities, and we promote many training initiatives. These are just some of the way in which we, like in an ecosystem, if you encourage growth in a part of the ecosystem, it's reflected back on you. So everything moves together. Yeah.
That's great. It's a very interesting way of looking at it. Certainly not a way I've looked at it before, but when you talk about it, it makes perfect sense. In what other ways are you meeting sustainability demands with your technologies?
All right. So I switch on. I think a more technical topic. So because what I described in the presentation is the design approach for the installation as a whole. But I mean, when we design the single applications, whether it's application for storing or dosing or other, processes that happen like fermentation and so on, we always try to include, we try to make them good for doing as much optimization as possible in terms of materials and energy. So I could basically put almost everything, but the latest in technology we introduced, the vertical blender, it is being designed specifically to optimize production times and mixing times. Inverse sugar technology that's been designed to facilitate and reduce the process times. And I talk about the heat treatment. That's a technique, a service that we offer for disinfestation and sanification of silos, and that uses heat. So it is completely eco-sustainable. It doesn't use any chemicals or gases. A flour, the process we use, the machine we use for the flour cooling process, it does a gradual cooling. So instead of compared to a rapid cooling process, that dramatically decreases the consumption of energy. When we design the transport system, for example, this is something that's being asked more and more by our customers. So we design it for high efficiency. We do individual analysis of energy consumptions, and in the other, we get to the automation. Automation it also is doing its part because it follows the same rule as before, modular and customized. So it is scalable. We don't have a package that we sell. We try to adapt our own ourselves to the needs of whoever is going to use the system. So we get to optimize many different parts of their process this way.
That's great. Thank you, Stefania. It's been great to learn more about CEPI's offering. If anyone watching would like to discover more, please visit their booth in the exhibitor section of our platform.
Thanks for listening again.